Recording in progress.
Shalom Aleichem. This is Parashas Nitzavim Vayelekh. So we're going to start with Vayelekh, which is chapter 31, verse 1. So again, it is Nitzavim Vayelekh, and we are going to start with the second portion, Vayelekh. I want to make sure that we get up to Vayelekh has, they're both, even though they're short portions, Vayelekh is the absolute shortest portion, and some of them is the second shortest portion. They pack a punch, and this is the last Shabbos of the year. So we have to end the year on a positive note. And it's going to bring us to the last mitzvah of the year. And the last mitzvah recorded, we know in the Torah, what's the last mitzvah? Everyone should know what the last mitzvah is. It's the mitzvah to write a Torah.
Write a Torah? Oh, yeah.
Exactly, Aviva. Exactly, the mitzvah to write a Torah. So I feel very close to that mitzvah. So chapter 31, verse 1. Vayelekh Moshe Vayidaber es hadvarim ha'elu al kol Yisrael. Moshe went and he spoke, hey. Shalom, shalom. Moshe went and he spoke all of these things to all of Israel. She says where that Rashi doesn't say anything about that. But and this is what Moshe said to them. So now we get finally the last hours of Moshe's life. We get to the last hours of Moshe's life, the last day, and now the last hours. Moshe said to them, from Shana Anochi Hayom. I'm 120 years old today. 120 years old I am today. And I'm not able to continue. Hey, Eric. How you doing? Thanks. All right. I'm not able to continue to go out and to come. Hashem amar elai, and God said to me, God said to me, you will not cross over this Jordan. So let's see what Rashi says. Moshe says, I'm 120 years old today and I'm not able to come out and go. Rashi says, you might think that Moshe was weaker. You might think his strength had waned. The verse says, but the verse tells us, we read, we're going to read chapter 34, verse 7. When we come to the end of the portion, it says Moshe was 120 years old. His eyes did not dim and his strength did not diminish. So, what does it mean he's not able? It doesn't mean he's not physically able. It means Eini Rashai. I'm not allowed. My time is up. Permission was taken away from me and given to Joshua. And God teaches us here that even though the person is in full strength, sometimes the time has come to step down. And that's what God told Moshe, your time's up. And then the Pasuk says, V'Hashem amar elai, God said to me, Lo tavor hayardin hazeh, you will not cross over this Jordan River. Rashi says, Zeu perush lo chalo watzet lavo. What's the reason I can't go out and come in? Because God said to me, I'm not allowed to cross over the Jordan. Notice that it never says, this is not Rashi, it doesn't say Moshe is not allowed to go into the land of Israel. It says you're not allowed to cross over the Jordan. Meaning he could go in the other ways. He could have gone in on a visit, gone in, probably went there when he was in Midian all those years. He just wasn't allowed to lead the Jewish people in by crossing over the Jordan. That's what was denied to him. But never says that he never entered the land. He went there on a tourist visa, but he never crossed over in this manner.
In one of the shnatons of the chief rabbinate of Israel, I don't remember what his name is, but he wrote that the way that Moshe knew all of the geography of Israel, when he told the Meraglim and otherwise, is because he did go during those years when he was away from Egypt. So,
I mean, it's speculation, but it would seem to make sense. I mean, why not? Did he have any proof that he went?
no, I just remember that it was a very good
Oh.
article.
Yeah, so it's speculative, but it seems like, of course, he would have gone and visited the birthplace of Abraham, and not the birthplace of Abraham, the birthplace of Isaac and Jacob, and the place where Abraham set up a home. So Moshe had gone there, he just didn't cross over this Jordan. Anyway, it says, Anochi Hayom Rashi says, Hayom Ma'u Yamai Ushnosai. So this is a very important point. Today, my days have been fulfilled. B'yom zeh noladati, b'yom zeh amut. On this day I will be born. On this day I will die. Let's just stop for a moment. Now, what does it mean today? So today he's fulfilled his life. So this day I was born, this day I die. Moshe Rabbeinu was held up as the paradigm of a person who maximized his potential. He lived his life to the fullest. And that's the meaning behind to say that he died on his birthday. Anybody here ever know anybody who died on their birthday? It's considered to be a tremendous merit, because it means that you fulfilled your all your years. Alternatively, L'tzeitfu avo b'divrei Torah. He said, I'm no longer able to teach, basically. That the knowledge handed down and the secrets of the Torah became close to him. So that's Moshe saying he can't give the shiurim anymore. He can't pass in the shilos. He's lost the Torah. So my time is up. So now he says in the next pasuk, Hashem Elokecha hu over lefanecha hu yashmin et hagayim ha'elam lefanecha v'irashtam Yeshua hu over lefanecha kasher diber Hashem. He said, God, He will go before you. He'll destroy the nations before you and give them over to you. Joshua will walk before you, just like God spoke. And God will do to them just like He did to Sichon and Og. Where did He fight to Sichon and Og? On this side of the Jordan while they were waiting to go in. We read about that at the end of Bamidbar, the beginning of Devarim, we read about that. And to the Og, the king of the Amorites, we read about him. Parshas Devarim, it says that his bed was very big. That God destroyed them. And God will give them in before you. And you shall do to them. And God will give them before you, and you should do to them like all of the commandments that I command you. It means you have to kill them. It means and God will give them before you, and you have to do to them like all the commandments. God has commanded Moshe to destroy the 7 nations. Plus Amalek. So that's what it's referring to. Chizkuvim, to be strong, courageous. Al tiru, al tartu, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid, God will walk with you. He will not loosen you, and He will not forsake you. Rashi says, He will not give you a loosening, to be abandoned by Him.
What is loosening?
He's not going to abandon you. He's holding you tight. He's not going to abandon you.
This says He won't make you weak. Or you feel a broke fit.
Rashi says, He will not loosen His hold on you. He will not give you a loosening. It means he will not loosen his hold on you. Okay. Vayikra Moshe Yoshua. Moshe called Joshua, Vayomer Elav, and he said to him, Moshe called to Joshua and he said to him, when they call Israel, and he said to him in all the eyes of all of Israel, Chazak v'yamatz, be strong and courageous. Ki ata tavo et ha'am hazeh al haaretz, asher nishba Hashem avotam u'atet lahem, ata tamchilenu v'sam. So Moshe called to Joshua, he said in the eyes of all of Israel, be strong and courageous, because you will bring this people to the land. It's unusual language, because you shall come with this people. Ki ata tavo et ha'am hazeh, to the land that Hashem swore to your fathers, to their fathers, to give to them. You will cause them to inherit it. Rashi explains, even though the phrase "atat tavo sa'am" is unusual, it means you shall come with the people. Moshe said to Joshua, the elders of the generation shall be with you. Everything should be done according to their opinion. אבל הקדוש ברוך הוא אמר ליהושע, כי אתה תביא את בני ישראל אל הארץ אשר נשבעתי להם. תביא על כרחם, הכל תלוי בך. תום מקל והחל קדקן, דיבר אחד לדור, דבר אחד לדור, ולא שני דברים לדור. This is a very, very interesting Rashi. What Rashi says is, Eric, you could take this to heart when you speak to the community. And Moshe said to Joshua, I'm giving you the elders. Do whatever they tell you. Follow their advice. And God said to Joshua, no, you're the one who's going to do it. You are the one. The buck stops with you. Hakol tavoy b'cha. Everything depends upon you. And if they're giving you a problem, take a rod and strike them down. There can only be one leader for a generation, not two.
Yeah. Great leadership advice.
You know, this is what there can only be one leader. That's what Rashi says. You have to. You have too many people giving advice. You're gonna be like the committee that's supposed to design an elephant and they come up with a triangle or something.
Rashi.
It's not right. It's God. God said to Joshua, "You're in charge. Can't have two people in charge." I mean, Moshe was saying, "No, you just listen to the elders," and God said, "No." I guess that's why it's called leadership. One person has to do the leading. So that's what God says to Joshua. Ki ata, you're the one who's going to do it. You're the one who's going to bring the people. I don't know about the rod, but it means let them know you're in charge. Obviously, it's tricky. The leader doesn't want to say, look, I'm in charge, I'm going to kill you. I mean, only Putin does that. But Hashem hu ha'olech lefanecha. Hashem is the one who walks before you. Hu yeh imach. He will be with you. Lo yarpecha v'lo yazveka. Lo tirav v'lo tichas. God will be with you. He won't weaken you, won't abandon you. Do not be afraid. Do not be dismayed. Says Rashi, nothing. Moshe wrote this Torah. We referenced this in previous weeks. Moshe wrote this Torah. He gave his Torah to the tribe of Levi. Rashi says, he gave it to his tribe. So first he gave the Torah to all the members of his tribe. They were the ones who carried the ark and all the elders. This is very interesting. The other tribes got upset. They said, what about us? We want a Torah too. But first he gave it only to his tribe. We saw this in previous passages. Yes, Jerry had a question.
Yes. as I recall, the last few lines of the Torah deal with after Moses died. So how could he have written this Torah, not knowing what those words would be?
Okay, so you're talking about the last 8 verses of the Torah. The Gemara, we had this in our Daf Yomi recently, and on Daf Tezvav, blah, blah, blah. So tonight we're going to do Daf Tzadi with 90, but we had this on Daf 15a. The Gemara says that Moshe wrote the Torah, and the last 8 verses he wrote Bidima. What does it mean, Bidima? So there's a lot of commentary on that. So some say it says Moshe wrote them in Dima and then Joshua filled them in. So what does it mean? So some say it means Moshe wrote them with his tears and Joshua then filled it in. Moshe wrote it with divine prophecy and Joshua filled it in. Or Moshe said it silently and Joshua wrote it. Or maybe Moshe put them down in a jumbled up form and Joshua did it. So the last 8 verses of the Torah are discussed in depth in Baba Basra 15a. Gemara has several suggestions to try and answer that question.
And the commentators also talk about, like Ibn Ezra.
They all talk about it because they say, who wrote the last 8 verses of the Torah? Well, it says, I think it says Moshe died. So the Gemara says Moshe died and he wrote this. Is this a lie? I mean, what does that mean? So the Gemara is well aware of that problem. And from the perspective of people who want to struggle with the Masoretic text and its attribution to Moses via God, this is like a minor issue. It's the last 8 verses of the Torah. Okay, so you could come up and say he wrote everything except for the last 8 verses. Fine, but the bigger problem are other textual concerns which people have struggled with for many years, not just since the biblical criticism community started, but even during the time of the Rishonim. The Rishonim are pointing out the tremendous numbers of inconsistencies between different passages of the Torah. This is an old question that our rabbis struggle to understand. The rabbis dealt with it midrashically. The biblical critics dealt with it in their scholarly manner. They pushed it away, but whatever. I mean, these are textual critiques. Okay, so how you doing, Ezra? Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Every day of my life is an absolute bracha. So now it says, Vayitzav Moshe somewhere more. So now we're going to get to the first mitzvah of the parasha. This parasha has 2 mitzvahs. This Nitzavim has another mitzvah, maybe the mitzvah of tshuva, but this parasha has 2 mitzvahs. And we get to the first mitzvah. What's the first mitzvah in the parsha? Anybody remember? It's the mitzvah of Hakel, of gathering at the end of the sabbatical year. And it's something more. Moshe commanded them, saying at the end of 7 years, in the festival of the sabbatical year, so meaning at the end of the sabbatical year, on the festival of Sukkot. Now they're going to gather there. Rashi says, B'shana Rishona Shel Shemitah. This is the first year of the sabbatical cycle, the 8th year. Why is it called the year of the sabbatical? Shadayin Shviyas Nohegespa. Because even though it's the 8th year, the laws of the sabbatical year still apply. Meaning to say the harvest of the 7th year crop. You know how to harvest the 7th year crop. I would say, you know how to harvest that 7th year crop that's going out into the sabbatical year. So, you had a question? So this is going to be the mitzvah of Hakel, the mitzvah of gathering together in this year. So what year are we in the sabbatical year cycle? I think we're in the 2nd year now of the sabbatical year cycle. I think so. I could ask Rabbi Yosef, but I think we're in the 2nd year. Last year was Hakel?
Just have it,
Yeah. Yeah. All of Israel has to come to see Hashem. In the place that will be chosen, i.e. the temple. To cross the Torah, the whole Torah should be read opposite their ears. Now this, I was just speaking to my son. He's in the old city studying, and he was calling me at 1 a.m. He said, "There's no way I'm going to sleep. Everyone's coming to pray now. And they blast the shofar all night long at the kotel, and they daven all night. So there's no even point even trying to go to sleep." All right, Elon, you doing well?
You doing great, Alex? You?
No. What? Where's the yeshiva Soli Melech kippah?
Forgot to bring it today.
What?
I was in a rush.
Okay, fine. More important that you get here. Okay, so what does Rashi say? We're in chapter 31, verse 11, Elon. It says, "You shall read this Torah." Who's supposed to read it? Hamelech HaYakori, the king would read it from the beginning of these are the words of Elo Dvarim, K'di'ita b'Mesachat Sota, Al Bima Shel Eitz. He reads it on a platform of wood. Shaya Osim Bazar. They make in the courtyard of the temple a platform of wood. And on that platform, the king would stand up and read it. I don't know who reads it now at the kotel, but it's obviously we don't have a king, but we have somebody who thinks
Chief
they're
Rabbi,
king.
but Rabbi, you didn't read the verse. Sorry.
I did read the verse.
Okay, sorry.
We could go back, Rabbi Yosef, go back to the tape afterwards, and we'll see. But I believe I read the verse. But if not, I said, yeah, I said, but oh no, I missed his last words. Tikrat Yeshakov you. Tikras the Torah Azot Neged Kol Yisrael B'Has name. You should read this whole Torah opposite their ears. Okay. Gather the men, the women, the children. The Gercha Asher B'Sharecha and the let's see what the Gercha. Rashi doesn't comment on it. It can either be the converts or the strangers that are in your midst. So that they will hear and they'll study. They'll fear your God. So that's called the Re'ah Torah, and they'll guard this Torah. So what's the purpose of this mitzvah? To study. And Rashi tells us, why are the men going? The men are going to study. Why are the women going? The women presumably didn't study. So why were they going? They were going to hear. Why were the children coming? To give reward to those who bring them, because the children can't study. Children won't even hear, they're too young, they're too little. So therefore, the people who bring them get reward. But why specifically after the sabbatical year? Because what were they doing during the sabbatical year? They were studying Torah, they were doing the Daf Yomi. Because what do you think? The farmers aren't working. What are they doing all day? Do you think God gave the farmers the year off so they could sit there and play backgammon all day? No, they got the year off so they could sit and take the time in the middle of their life. Their life is not that long. So then in the middle of their lifetime, they take a year off for Torah study. That's all they were supposed to be doing. And so then at the end of this, they would go up and make a big siyum. What else do you think they were doing then? Why else do you think there's a sabbatical year? So that the people would be able to spend the year studying Torah. Yeah, that's the purpose of it. So then it states, U'b'neim asher lo yadu, their children who do not know, Yishma'u v'lamdu yiras Hashem al-kachem. They'll hear and they'll study to fear Hashem. Kol hayamim asher atem chayim al adama. All the days that you're on this earth, asher atem ovrim et yarden shemusha. That's what you have to do. And we see from here that we come to the end of the Torah, and the Torah tells us what's the point of the Torah. This is the point of the Torah. Your whole life, what are you supposed to be doing? To hear and to study, to fear God, all the days that you're on the earth. So that's the purpose of a Jew. The purpose of a Jew is to learn and to study Torah all the days of their life, so that they can know to fear God. And when they fear God, presumably they'll do the right thing. They'll serve Hashem, they'll be kind, they'll be generous, they'll be giving. So it all stems from study. Community that doesn't study is not Jewish. That's the whole basic point. This is what it means to be Jewish, to study. That's what the Torah is telling us right here. We come to the end of the Torah. You have to study Torah to come to fear God. That's the way to fear God. Yeah. You're not following the Torah if you don't study. It's a commandment. Some say that the mitzvah of studying Torah is in the previous parasha, which is we read as 1 week today, is in Parashas Nitzavim, where it says, Ki Torah azos, ki mitzvah azos, lo rechoka hi mimcha. Where is this written here? Here it says, chapter 11, it says in that chapter 30, verse 11. This mitzvah that I'm commanding you today is not far away from you and is not distant from you. It's not in the heavens, saying who will go up to the heavens and take it down for us. What's this mitzvah? So most understand this to mean that this is the mitzvah of Torah study. And all of these verses are referring to the mitzvah of Torah study. That's what it is. Okay, so that's the mitzvah of Torah study. Anybody have any questions? Okay, so then Vayomer Hashem al Moshe. So now we have leadership again. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Vayomer Hashem al Moshe. God said to Moshe, Hein karvu yamecha amut. Your days are coming close to death. Kras Yoshua called Joshua v'yatzvu ba'ol moed. And stand before him in the Ol Moed, make him stand before you in the tent, Vatzavenu, and I'll command him, Vayelekh Moshe v'Yoshua v'yatzvu b'Ol Moed. So God was going to make this, Moshe, he told Moshe to gather Joshua in front of all the people, and he will command them. What does the word command mean? Rashi says, I shall encourage him, meaning to say that, because there's no command that's listed. So what he's being told to do is he's being encouraged. So Joshua might have been weak. So we're making this a moment of encouragement, a moment to tell Joshua you're up to the task. Can you imagine? You never want to come right after a really successful person in that position. Can you imagine how you're going to come after Moshe?
There's some, excuse me. I know.
Yeah, what we're saying, Eric.
No, whenever there's a new leader, there's a ceremony, there's some kind of inspiration. We induct new rabbis, we induct, we have inauguration of a new president. I mean, it's always a ceremony.
Usually this ceremony focuses on the one leaving, not on the one coming in. Usually they give that person a proper send-off and then they bring in the next person. Usually
Inauguration is about a new
that's usually like not the most friendly. Yeah. And if the guy was, if they're the same party, it's a little different. But when they disliked each other, anyway. But the point is that with Joshua, you might have thought that Joshua would be intimidated because he's coming after the greatest human being ever. But the irony is, who was the better leader, Joshua or Moses? So Yoshua, it's the only time in history that people never sinned. They had one sin. It was done by one person in the book. Other than that, they were perfect. The Jewish people never has a whole sin. One guy sinned in the book, Achan. That's it. And maybe Joshua himself sinned, that the angel came to him and punished him because he stopped studying Torah for a little bit. But other than that, Joshua did a great job. He has my vote. Vayera Hashem b'ol moed ba'anan, v'amud anan v'yamud amud anan al pesach ha'or. All right, just before, first of all, big geschmack to study with everybody on the Zoom and in person, and a beautiful oilum today. We just stop, and I want to say something after the